The Independent Electoral Commission says ballot paper printing is complete ahead of next Wednesday's polls. This was revealed at the launch of the National Results Operations Center at Galaga Convention Center in Midrand earlier today. The ROC, as it is known for short, is the IEC's nerve center, where results are captured, audited, and collated.
An election without a ballot paper, either electronically or physically, is an affront to the very notion of an election. The Commission, therefore, takes immense pride in announcing the completion of the ballot printing project. Final packaging and labeling have been done, and delivery will be finalized imminently. The final leg of the distribution chain at the local storage sites is aligned with the commencement of the casting of special votes on the 27th of May.
Let's take you live to the National Results Operations Center in Midrand, where Newsroom Africa's Xoli Mngambi is standing by. Xoli, are political parties as impressed by what the IEC put up earlier today as some journalists and commentators were?
Well, Vuyo, it's going to be a very interesting election. And as you say, political parties in attendance here, in their numbers, although I did not see a representative from the African National Congress, but I stand corrected. I do have some of those political party leaders who attended though, Vuyo, and so let me not waste any time. Let me bring into the conversation Mr. Roy Moodley. He's with the African Movement Congress. Well, you will know him as a businessman. That's how many people know you in South Africa, Mr. Moodley. What convinced you, firstly, to get into the political space?
Thank you, and thank you to the listeners. Yes, I'm a presidential candidate for African Movement Congress, and I'm a huge businessman, and I've been in business for about 40 years. Now, me seeing what's happening in this country needs to be run like a business. Performance-based and accountability. And if you get the performance-based and the accountability, I think this country will be rescued. Right now, we need to rescue the economy. And we, as African Movement Congress, has got solution to load shedding, and we got solution to water crisis. And also, we want to engage in crime and job creation, and many more things. And we must be given an opportunity to make sure that we rescue the country.
Yeah.
Load shedding is one of the main things at the moment. It covers all the rescuing, like job creation, employment, businesses, hospitals, clinics, whatever you think about, load shedding is number one to the list.
Let me ask you this question as a final one. Many people will listen to you, and especially when you talk about accountability, and they'll immediately connect you to former President Jacob Zuma. They'll connect you to the ANC. That is who is running the country right now. They will say there is a benefactor, or should I say a beneficiary of government tenders at the time. Why should we trust Roy Moodley's company when he was so intrinsically linked to the governing party of the day? What is it that you're bringing to the table?
Let me firstly clarify that the tender issue. Definitely, I was linked to the ANC and I was linked to President Zuma, but let me give you the background how I was linked. I was the only chairman in the country who served 12 years for the ANC as the chair of the Durban North region. Nobody knows that. That is why they say that I'm linked to Mr. Zuma. But I have to be linked to the leaders. And thereafter, after me serving 12 years as the chair, then I moved to the region, then I moved to province, then I moved to national. And I was one of the officials in the alliance of the ANC. And very few people know that. Politically, I'm #1 citizen in the country when it comes to an Indian. politically that is, because no other Indian reached that level where I've reached. So that is one of the reasons that I took up politics now. Being in business and letting the country go into poverty is not going to work for me. I believe in accountability. And coming back to the tenders, let me tell you, I've got not one tender during the tenure of Jacob Zuma. Although that there were great rumors and it was the fact that Zuma worked for me, that is a fact. Zuma did work for me. But at the end of the day, if somebody looks at it, Zuma worked for me, oh, I can get anything. But that was greed now. So as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't greedy to get anything. And obviously, the SARS looked at my records, and every single record. And they could find nothing that I got during Zuma's time. But the public and the country knows I got tenders during Zuma. And I'm open. Even now, they can come and look at it. I got not one tender during Zuma's time. And Zuma gave me nothing. And I wouldn't take nothing from Zuma.
Yeah.
He worked for me, not because I needed something.
All right. Very quickly, what are your chances once voting gets going? How much work have you done on the ground?
I did a lot of work, but the minds of the people in South Africa need to change. See how the world is moving now. The world is moving not about racism. The world is moving about who can rescue the economy. Look at London. The third term, Tariq Khan won his campaign, and the third term. And you can believe it, that is one of the largest economic hub in the world. And UK, look at UK. Who's running UK? But 99% of the whites voted for an Indian that is running the UK. But they didn't worry about race. They worried about who can rescue the economy. And that is what they did. And I am the person who can do that.
All right.
That is why I want the people to vote for African Movement Congress. And that's the only choice they have.
All right. Roy Moodley, thank you very much for your time, leader of the African Movement Congress, and it's very clear that the economy of South Africa needs rescuing. Well, another person, ironically, a businessman who's also entered the political space is Herman Mashaba. I see you with a big smile, Mr. Mashaba. Mr. Moodley is very clear that this economy needs people like him who've been in business before, who know how to work it in order to rescue it. What do you think of that perspective?
Well, absolutely. I think our economy not only requires people who come from the business sector, our country requires ethical leadership, because you can really be a businessman, you can be a judge, but if there is no ethical leadership behind what you're doing, unfortunately, it's not what this country requires. Look at what has happened to us in the last 30 years of our new democratic dispensation. So I think ethical leadership for me is not negotiable. And also I think we need the respect for the rule of law, Koli. If you study successful nations throughout history, economics grow because of the rule of law. In South Africa right now, it's in a very chaotic environment where 86 people are being murdered on a daily basis. Corruption has become a norm, and those are things that unfortunately are holding us back as a nation.
Two quick questions in one, Mr. Mashaba. The IEC officially launching the Results Operations Center, that's where we are. How satisfied are you about the state of readiness of the IEC to carry out this mammoth task? But second of all, what are your chances? This is going to be the heartbeat. You are going to be squirming as those results come in.
Well, without any doubt, Dolly, we're working hard. We're asking for God's blessing, and every day we really do what is best to convince the 27.7 million South Africans to vote. I think, for us as Action SA, if we look at, we're a 3.5-year-old party, but we're not a small party, I'm sure you're aware. We are the 6th biggest political party countrywide, only contesting 6 municipalities. We are the 4th biggest party in Gauteng. One thing actually that excites me personally is to know that Panyaza Lesufi is the last ANC premier in Gauteng. That is really something that gives me such personal satisfaction, because if I'd managed in 2016 to remove Parkstown from Gauteng, I'm telling you, we're determined and quite confident that we are going to remove Panyaza. And now, you can imagine now Action SA being in charge of Gauteng, the economic capital of the Republic. Even if we don't actually end up getting the majority to govern national, but we'll be controlling the economy. And once you control the economy, everything else falls into place. And regarding the IEC matter, I think you remember very well what the IEC did to us in 2020 when we first registered. Just brought in a query of some party that does not even exist today. And secondly, a few weeks before the elections, made us contest as a logo. It was a very painful exercise, but we've really put this behind us, is water under the bridge. We're quite satisfied. So far, our engagement with the IEC since after the 2021 local government elections, even up to today, honestly, what they presented to us, as a South African, it makes me really very proud that we stand a very, very good chance of having free and fair elections. Obviously, I don't have control over how other political parties are going to behave, but one thing I want to assure people of South Africa that Action SA, we don't take nonsense from anyone of our activists. If anyone is going to go out there and go against the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, we will deal with them ourselves. We are not going to wait for the IEC or in our law enforcement agencies. And but based on what the IEC presented to us a few weeks ago when we signed the pledge, I'm satisfied and excited. I can tell you, I look at my schedule the next 5 days. I'm not going to be at home. I'm going to do everything possible here in Gauteng. My focus as the leader of the party, I'm going to focus on Gauteng to make sure that come next week, we're going to get more people here in Gauteng voting for Funzi Ngubeni than anyone else.
Well, that's provided that you've got a little bit more time to campaign, because I know...
We've done our work the last 3 years. The last 3 years, we've not been sleeping, putting a lot of money. I think...
So campaigning is done. Campaigning is done.
No, but we need the finishing touches. You can't wait and take things for granted. I will sleep after I cast my vote. And not even after casting my vote. When IEC closes at 9 o'clock next Wednesday, that's when I'll go home, have a glass of whiskey and relax and start waiting for the counting, which is going to take hours, and wait for the results. And I can tell you, Action SA is going to be the biggest shocker in these elections next week.
All right, Herman Mashaba, leader of the Action SA party, confident that Gauteng is in the bag for Action SA, but nationally, well, I think he's quite careful to go to that space, but he guarantees himself that Gauteng is probably in the bag. I'm not so sure whether the ANC will agree, but we'll leave it there. Vuyo?